Yo guys, I'm Niek from the Produce School and welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I will show you how to make bigger and better build-ups for modern dance music. Build-ups are one of the most essential parts of your track, but they are still often overlooked by many producers. That's why in this video, I will dive into some useful theory, and after that, I will put this theory in practice by working on a build-up myself. For now, let's dive straight into the video. So first I will dive into some super short and simple theory about build-ups, but which will really help you to understand build-ups better. So first I want to talk about tension building and tension release. This is a key part of build-ups, and you need to understand the dynamics between building tension and releasing tension. Tension building is about gradually increasing expectation and intensity of your track, which you do in a build-up. And then the tension release is more of a explosive, satisfying payoff that people get for listening to the whole tension build. This idea between the dynamics of building and releasing in a build-up are basically the main idea of any build-up in any genre. I loaded in this track called Home from Adriatic, you might know it, and it's kind of a melodic house, melodic techno tune. And in my opinion, this is a really good example to showcase the dynamic between the tension build and the tension release, because it has a big build-up, but then 2 beats before the drop hits, the tension gets released, and that works really well to make the audience want to drop even more. To get what I mean, you can simply now just listen to the track. So as you can hear, the build-up is really big with a lot of white noise elements. Then here, 2 beats before the drop, all the tension releases, which makes the drop hit even better. Instead of directly letting the drop hit after you've been building the tension, a tension release can actually increase the contrast and just have your drop sound way more impactful. So more effective ways to create tension are using changes in your chords or using dissonant chords, adding rhythmic complexity, or delaying the drop and extending the build-up at a point where listeners don't expect it, which also again creates a sense of anticipation. And an example I have right here is this new Medusa track called Phone. Let me play the build-up.
Why don't you pick up the phone when I'm all alone? Do you hate me? Kiss me like a...
So it actually delays the drop by 1 beat. So here you still have the tension build, and then you have that phone sound effect.
Leave a message after the tone. Why don't you pick up the phone when I'm all alone? Do you hate?
And it just makes the drop a little bit more unexpected than it would have been when you do it, for example, like this. I erase the phone thing and just drag the drop 1 beat forward.
Why don't you pick up the phone when I'm all alone? Do you hate me?
Which sounds cool as well, but this example here is a bit more unexpected and listeners will love that on the dance floor. Next up, I want to talk about silence, because silence can actually be a really powerful tool in music production. It sounds weird, but by adding silence to your build-up, you can actually create more tension. Because when something becomes silent or almost silent, people will not immediately know what's happening, and then the drop hits and the crowd will go crazy. And the perfect example for this is this track from Anima called Running, which has a kind of silent part before the drop right here. And this builds even more anticipation. The use of these kind of silences was already pretty big in the time of trance, but nowadays you hear it more and more again in music production as well, especially with the rise of this melodic techno and melodic house kind of genre. You will hear it more and more. Let's now move on to creating a build-up itself to demonstrate these theories and to give you a better understanding of how to do this in practice. Alright, so I've loaded in a deconstructed file of one of the project files in our new pack, Eclipse. And from here, I'm going to start working on creating a big buildup that eventually leads to a really simple drop that sounds like this. I already loaded in 3 elements that I'm going to use in the buildup, and they sound like this right now. No movement, no effects underneath, so there's work to do to create a big buildup. First thing that immediately comes to my mind is adding some harmonic tension. And the easiest way you can do that is by adding some variety in your chords. So right here you can see the progression is really simple. Let's extend it and try to come up with something cool. For example, adding notes in the second part of the build-up or changing the notes could both work. So as you can see, I added some really simple notes, but because it's continually changing and going up, it will contribute to the tension in your build-up, basically. What I would never do in a build-up like this is just simply repeat those standard simple chords throughout the whole build-up, because you miss out on a really simple way to create more tension. You can do this for your lead melody, for example, as well, by just simply changing it up and making it a bit more unexpected. And you can also play around with octave switches, for example on this ARP, pitching it up 1 octave in the second part here. These things all contribute to a bigger sense of tension. So right now The next step that I would do is start adding some effect sounds. So there are multiple options. One of them is using samples, which is perfectly fine, but I like to use more of a combination between using samples and creating your own risers or effect sweeps, because you can make them specifically tailored to the track that you're making, which the sounds in the packs are normally not, but you can still use them as a support layer or just use them in a proper combination. So I will start by dragging in a few samples and then create some effects myself as well. So you have risers or uplifters, and the difference, at least we make in our sample packs, is that the risers are those tonal sounds that are pitching up, and the uplifters are more of the white noise based sweeps. You should really try to use a combination of them. So let's load a riser in. As you can see, I already moved the drop 2 beats to the right, because you could let it hit like this. But I believe that a bit of tension release will help you to make it hit even harder. So let's move on with selecting some sweeps. Just layering a few will make those sounds really wide. As you can hear, the tail of these sounds doesn't really sound nice at all right now. So let's add a reverb to the riser. That will immediately help you to make that transition more smooth. Decrease the decay a little bit. And now let's open up a serum, for instance, and work on something ourselves. So we can either start working on another tonal kind of riser thing, which we can start off with, and then let it play the bass note right here. Put it in a separate pattern. And right now we're going to make use of this LFO section right here. Put it on envelope mode and set it to whatever you want, 8 bar, 16 bar, depends on how long you want the riser to be, especially to make it fit to your build-up. And then you want to have this ramp kind of structure. You can either do it like this or like this, because you're gradually building up. So this is the main idea behind a riser. And then you can add that to, for example, a filter. At the moment, there is no pitch modulation, so you can change that by dragging the LFO1 to the coarse modulation and making it unipolar, and then set it to 12. And in the context, it will immediately sound pretty cool, probably. Now you can play around with automating some settings and just make it a little bit more unique. And you can add some more movement by adding another LFO, for example, a more fast moving LFO like this. I will change the chords to make it a bit more logical, because I see that right now it's not that logical in my opinion. So now it's a simple 4-bar loop, which makes more sense. You can also automate the width of that riser and make it a bit more stereo towards the drop. Okay, so let's create another sweep effect. In this case, a white noise one, which can also be made from Serum by simply using the noise oscillator. And this time, let's use a 16-bar rate and let it gradually come up as well. Setting off the LFO beat sync can also give some cool effects when you automate the rate then of the second LFO. So let's see. Let's copy this into the new Serum instance and make it a bit longer. Automate the rate of the moving LFO, and it goes faster towards the drop. And I want it to open up a bit more quickly. Now let's add a fruity balancer to adjust the volume and how it fades in. I think we might be able to add like an atmosphere, but the main effects are already sounding pretty solid. Let's now move on to another part, and a very crucial one, which is automating. So in order to gradually build tension, you want sounds to change, and you do this with automations. So common parameters that you can automate are filter cutoff. You can automate ADSR settings such as decay and release, and basically much more other unique parameters, but those are definitely the main ones. And I should not forget to mention delay and reverb, of course. So let's start off with the lead and drag down the filter cutoff and then automate it so it gradually opens up. Next, create a automation clip of the wet level and the dry level of the reverb. And then the dry level gets less towards the drop and the wet level gets higher towards the drop. And that creates a really big kind of wash effect. And you can do the exact same things for the pad and for the ARP. Especially automating the cutoff on the pad will work really well because you introduce a lot of harmonics, which is pleasant to the ears for the listeners. So like this. Maybe we can add a low cut automation. So as you can see, I didn't even do that much and we already have like almost 10 automations. That's how quick it can go. And once you get a hang of which parameters you want to automate, it will basically become something that you do automatically. I might want to add like an impact to break tension in the middle of the drop. Build up, I mean, sorry. Like this. And that one can also be put here. Next up, you can add some drums or make some drum adjustments. So right here in the drop that I have, there are not that many drums in the first part. But for example, let's say this head loop. Let's put it here in the build-up as well. might add like a little top loop. And then automating the volume so it fades out towards the drop. It's also fairly easy to create your own snare fill. You just need to take a good sample. For example, this kind of almost trappy snare. Just draw a simple rhythm like this, and then it's all in the automation as well. So right here it can get faster, also contributing to like the tension of the buildup. And that right now, without any automation, sounds like this. So let's start by automating the volume right here. So it gradually fades in. And add it to a mixer slot as well. So we can add some reverb and filters. And one of my favorite things to add to this is a low cut filter. So right now I think that's it for this video. I spoke about some theory and tried to apply it on this simple demo project right here. So let's listen to the build-up one more time. And that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, make sure to leave a comment down below. If you're searching for high quality samples, sounds and presets, make sure to go to the link in the description. We just released our new pack Eclipse and the response has been amazing. So make sure to check that one out. For now, I want to thank you guys for watching and I see you guys in the next video.